There is something nobody warned Virgo about. The moment you finally stop denying your intuition, your entire life begins reorganizing itself around the truth, not around comfort, not around attachment. Truth has been following you quietly for a long time now. Inside strange timing. Inside repeated emotional patterns. Inside conversations that somehow felt unfinished even after they ended. Inside the unsettling feeling that certain people became emotionally unreachable while still standing right beside you. You noticed it during small moments first. The silence after a message, the hesitation in someone's voice, the way their eyes stopped holding the same warmth they once did. You tried explaining it logically. They're stressed, they're overwhelmed. Things will stabilize soon, but your nervous system kept reacting anyway. Because the body does not protect illusions. It reacts to emotional reality long before the mind stops resisting it. Lately, reality has been getting harder to ignore. You feel it during nights where sleep disappears without explanation, during long drives where one memory keeps replaying against your will, during moments staring at the ceiling in total silence, feeling like your soul is trying to prepare you emotionally for something your heart still fears. You felt this before anyone said it out loud. Someone changed around you. Not suddenly. Quietly. Like warmth leaving a room 1 degree at a time. Virgo notices emotional inconsistency the way other people notice weather. Tiny shifts, subtle coldness, invisible withdrawal. Once you sense that shift, your inner world starts reorganizing around it automatically, which explains why you have felt emotionally exhausted for so long. Not because you are weak, because part of you has been carrying emotional truth alone, trying to continue functioning normally while your intuition quietly mourns something your conscious mind still refused to confirm. That realization hurts differently. Because Virgo gives people endless chances when love is involved, you keep hoping the old version of them will return. You keep searching for warmth inside emotionally distant behavior. You keep translating confusion into temporary stress. But 2026 dissolves illusion slowly. Like fog lifting from a landscape you barely recognize afterward. Once that fog disappears, certain truths become impossible to emotionally unsee. Some people only love the version of you that tolerated imbalance, the version that stayed silent, the version that accepted inconsistency without confrontation, the version that over-explained their behavior instead of trusting your own discomfort. Somewhere deep inside, you already know exactly who this is about. Your body reacted around them differently long before your mind formed the sentence. That tension after conversations, that exhaustion after seeing their name appear, that strange emotional heaviness that followed you home afterward. Not coincidence. Recognition. For the first time in a long time, you are beginning to understand that emotional safety matters more than attachment. That changes everything. Because when Virgo finally reaches emotional exhaustion, the soul starts choosing peace over emotional survival. Even if the transition breaks your heart first, there is another layer to this transformation nobody around you fully understands yet. Your intuition is becoming sharper. More immediate. More physical. You notice how quickly your energy reacts now. How certain conversations instantly drain you. How some rooms suddenly feel emotionally heavy. How your chest tightens around people your mind is still trying to trust. That sensitivity is not weakness. Your silence noticed patterns before your conscious mind accepted them. Now the emotional truths buried underneath those patterns are surfacing completely. You may even feel the universe communicating differently lately. Repeated numbers. Dreams that linger emotionally all day. Songs arriving at exact emotional moments. Thinking about someone seconds before they contact you. The universe speaks softly before major endings. Virgo, you have been hearing whispers for months. You just hoped they meant something else. Deep down, part of you already accepted this ending emotionally. That is why your energy changed recently. You no longer chase reassurance the same way. You pause longer before responding. You detach faster from inconsistency. You stop forcing conversations that once mattered desperately to you. People around you feel that shift already. Even if they never say it directly, Because there is something deeply unsettling about a Virgo who stops over-explaining themselves emotionally. That is when people realize your silence was never weakness. It was patience. Patience has limits. You kept trying to rationalize what your intuition already understood. Eventually, even Virgo becomes tired of betraying themselves to preserve connection, especially when the connection stopped nourishing them emotionally a long time ago. Here is the darker truth nobody prepared you for. Some people knew you were emotionally exhausted and still kept taking from you, still kept leaning on your empathy, still kept expecting your patience, still kept returning only when they needed emotional comfort. That realization leaves a scar. Because Virgo rarely accepts how deeply they were emotionally used until much later. You kept giving understanding to people committed to confusion. You kept shrinking your instincts to maintain peace. You kept convincing yourself that your discomfort was temporary instead of protective. That is the pattern collapsing now, quietly, irreversibly. The loneliness was never caused by being alone. It came from feeling emotionally unseen around people you love. That is why isolation started feeling safer than certain conversations. Safer than mixed signals, safer than emotional unpredictability. You started feeling disconnected in places that once felt emotionally familiar. Your nervous system reacted accordingly. That exhaustion you carried home after certain interactions, not overthinking. Recognition. Part of you understood the truth immediately. Even when your attachment delayed acceptance, acceptance changes lives, acceptance destroys illusions, acceptance forces endings your heart spent years trying to avoid. Still, something inside you cannot continue pretending anymore. Not after everything your soul survived silently. You spent too long becoming emotionally convenient for others. Too long minimizing your intuition to preserve harmony. Too long carrying emotional labor without reciprocity. Now your soul wants something different, not intensity, not obsession, not emotional confusion. Disguised as love, peace. Real peace. The kind where your nervous system finally stops bracing itself constantly, the kind where silence no longer feels threatening. The kind where emotional consistency becomes normal instead of rare. Strangely enough, that desire scares you. Because deep down, you know peace may require leaving behind people you once believed were permanent. That realization follows you everywhere lately, inside quiet nights. Inside unfinished conversations. Inside the strange emptiness you feel after certain phone calls end. You can feel the shift accelerating, conversations exposing hidden tension, truth surfacing indirectly, people revealing themselves through patterns instead of words. The frightening part is, once you see it clearly, you cannot emotionally unsee it again. Virgo notices everything, especially the moment effort stops being mutual, especially the moment affection becomes obligation. Especially the moment someone's energy changes before their words do. Someone around you already changed long ago. Your nervous system reacted before your thoughts caught up. That is why certain nights recently felt unbearable, why old memories suddenly returned stronger. Why random songs emotionally destroyed you without warning. Your subconscious was preparing you emotionally for detachment before your conscious self caught up. Because part of you already knew what was coming. Even during moments you still tried convincing yourself otherwise. That was not intuition failing. That was intuition waiting for you to stop arguing with it. That is when everything changed. Internally, the argument inside you started ending. Quietly. Irreversibly. You are beginning to understand something life-changing. Closure does not always arrive through explanation. Sometimes closure arrives through exhaustion. Through finally becoming too emotionally tired to keep carrying confusion. Too tired to keep translating mixed signals into hope. Too tired to keep begging internally for consistency people were never capable of giving. Oddly enough, that exhaustion becomes liberation. Because once Virgo stops romanticizing potential, reality becomes painfully clear. You start seeing people through behavior instead of projection. You stop mistaking inconsistency for complexity. You stop sacrificing emotional safety to preserve attachment. The version of you emerging from this realization feels different, calmer, more detached. More honest. Not colder, just unwilling to abandon yourself anymore. That transformation is already happening. You can hear it in your silence. Feel it in your boundaries. Notice it in the way your energy withdraws faster now. Silence no longer terrifies you as much as emotional instability does. Someone around you still does not realize how close they are to losing access to you emotionally forever. Because Virgo rarely leaves impulsively, you leave internally first, emotionally first. By the time people notice, your soul has usually already gone. That is the part they never understand in time. You mourn the relationship while still inside it. You process the grief privately. At 2 a.m. At stoplights during late-night drives. Inside empty rooms where your thoughts became louder than music. You stared at a message for 10 minutes, already knowing you would never receive the answer you actually needed. That moment changed something inside you permanently. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like a final emotional thread snapping internally without sound. For the first time in years, you are no longer trying to force clarity from people committed to confusion. You are no longer shrinking your intuition to preserve attachment. You are no longer betraying your emotional truth to avoid disappointing others. That shift is the real beginning of your 2026 transformation. Because the truth was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to free you from emotional survival mode, free you from relationships where your nervous system never rested, free you from carrying invisible tension nobody else acknowledged, free you from becoming emotionally invisible inside your own life. You felt this before anyone said it out loud. Something changed. Quietly. You never fully recovered from it. Maybe you were never supposed to. Maybe the version of you that tolerated emotional confusion had to disappear completely. Maybe the loneliness was guiding you back toward yourself the entire time. Maybe your intuition was never the enemy. Maybe it was the only thing trying to protect you. Now, for the first time, you are finally listening. That is why the future feels different. Not because you suddenly became fearless. Because you stopped lying to yourself about what your soul already knows. Someone is ending emotionally. Something is closing permanently. Deep down, you already know exactly what it is. The terrifying part is not the ending anymore. It is realizing how long your intuition begged you to see it. But the moment you finally accept the truth completely, something unexpected happens. Your nervous system becomes quiet again. The tension slowly leaves your body. The confusion stops replaying endlessly inside your head. Inside that silence, you finally meet yourself again. Not the survival version. Not the emotionally exhausted version built around carrying everyone else. The real version. The honest version. The one that no longer needs to betray their intuition to feel loved. As 2026 continues, one realization follows you everywhere. The universe was never punishing you by removing certain people. It was answering the truth your soul was too afraid to say out loud. Now the door is finally closing. Quietly. Softly. Without revenge. Without chaos. Without one final explanation. Just the sound of your spirit choosing peace. After years of surviving emotional noise,